not one person in the parking lot at Cannonsburg in our trailhead there. And so I think the city has really recognized, and we've seen this over the last 3 or 4 years. We've started discussions with some of the providers in that area, that that once Cannonsburg was one of our busiest trailheads, and that is an area that, I feel safe publicly saying this. I would not want my wife by herself on that section of the Greenway early in the morning, or late at night. And so the city council has put a renewed emphasis specifically on panhandling. You're going to see some signage that's going to start going out on all of our intersections to remind people that there are better ways to give in our community. There are better, thoughtful ways to give to charities in our organization, as opposed to promoting panhandling at our intersections, but also really a new emphasis on the homelessness in that area and what is the crime that has come along with that. And so there are some things that I think we're really going to start emphasizing and explaining to our public. And again, it's not that we're trying to be cold-hearted about that. We realize, and I think that's something that's very special about Murfreesboro, is that we always try to help and lend a helping and giving hand. But at the same time, when you look at other municipalities who are not providing those services, and Murfreesboro now has become a destination where people send their people to Murfreesboro, that is not a good thing. And we're gonna have I keep saying a renewed emphasis, but that's one of the things that we're going to work on in that Town Creek area.
We have a question here about, you were talking about homelessness. There's another concern. This one is with the downtown businesses around the square, also in the parking garage under the library and around the library. Is anything being done to make that a safer feel for the public?
Yes, a couple of things. We have full-time patrol now downtown, and we constantly are talking to our downtown business owners, and we're hearing the feedback from our downtown business owners that they are very thankful to have that presence. The parking garage is something that we continually are monitoring with the city and the county. The library, Bart's a different situation, and I know our library board is really working on a solution for that. But I'll tell you this: as long as you're going to allow people to come in and have unfettered internet access, that's going to be a problem. And the city council continually hears from our residents that they don't feel safe going into the library. And again, I do not want this to sound cold-hearted, because I think, again, we want to lend a helping hand to those that are in need. But turning the library into a day homeless shelter where people can go hang out upstairs, stay on the internet, that's an issue. That's not what the intended use is for the library. And I think that's a common sense issue in my opinion. I think you look at what the intended uses of facilities were designed for, and that's not what the intended use is. I had a resident the other day that I had directed to go up to renew their driver's license on the second floor of the library, and they called me after they were done, and they were like, "What the heck did you just send me into up there?" And so I think that's something that the library staff has to recognize. I know we have a new director that's coming in, but that's something that everyone has to understand what their lane and their role is. And I don't think we're there yet. Bart, look, we had to end up we have full-time security at our city hall. We've had to lock bathrooms. We've had to put railing up around our city plaza. We've had to put railing up around the fountains in those areas. And so I think that's...
For people getting into the fountain? They were taking their bath.
Yes. And so, look, you look at the amount of money that the taxpayer is spending to fund our homeless task force. And Bart, I think that's what I ask people who call me and say, you're not being sympathetic. And I'm like, well, tell me what you want us to do. tell me what you would want me to do. Or are we supposed to turn a blind eye and someone get hurt on walking into the library? Or are we just supposed to let people have shopping carts and take baths in the city hall area? So I didn't mean to get off into that, but that is something that people will ask us, and you'll see online with Town Creek specifically. They will say it's already a homelessness haven in that area. Why are you doing that? And I want the people to know that the city council, all of us, have really said we recognize that can be an issue, and that's something that we're going to address. The worst thing that can happen for Murfreesboro, in my opinion, when you've got like for example, we had this discussion yesterday. Franklin doesn't have a Greyhound bus drop off. We do. And when you have people that are coming off of the Greyhound bus with a one-way ticket where they've come from somewhere else, that's an issue, because you don't know who's coming here. You don't know what their intentions are. And more importantly,
do we got a lot coming in that way?
I mean, we're working on getting that information from Greyhound if there's a possible way to get that. But yes, so we rely on crime data. We rely on information that we get from our police department, and Sergeant Wood and his team, who, they know the homelessness population by name and by face. They are, we're one of the only police departments that have mental health professionals that go around with our police department now. But, at some point, I don't think we can be advertising to other communities, hey, send your people here, because they're not providing those services. And that's a problem for Murfreesboro residents. The last thing that I would want to happen is something happen at Kids Castle or at Adams Tennis Facility or on the Greenway. And I just want the residents to know that we know that, we're addressing it, and we're going to make sure that the people who need help, there are organizations that we have in this community that provide help, and the city provides financial help to those organizations for transitional homelessness. But the homelessness that we're having issues with are the people who are not transitional. They're wanting to be left alone, and that's not a segment that one is safe. And I'm not saying that for everyone, but we have to make sure. I know there's some business owners that we've consistently heard from on Broad Street that are having issues on West College. And so those are things that we have to get in a little better situation, and with that, there's going to be some consequences that come along with that.
Are there some good tests that have been proven in other cities that's working there?
Well, yes and no, Bart, but I think you can look at other communities in the country that, for example, allowed homelessness to take place on the sidewalks, that have allowed camps to be put up on city property. And
Nashville is one.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. I think that's the issue. And you want to provide services, but you also want to have accountability with those services. And if you're providing services that is just providing a meal and laundry service, for example, but you're not providing any accountability that comes with that, well, guess what you're going to do? You're just going to attract more people that want to come here to get that service with no accountability. And I think that's what you've seen to some extent. And we've got to find a better way to do that. And I know as Murfreesboro, we can find, better ways that we can say, hey, we want to help those that need help. But if you want to come into our community and you don't want, the only help you want is to get a meal and get your laundry done and be left alone, then I think that's something that as a community we really have to talk about. I had a downtown business owner that called us last week, and one of the homeless people downtown chased one of his employees leaving their business. Chased them. So that's, we've had one business that's it's a health, a fitness club that, has people there early in the morning, and they continually have let us know, hey, we need help. And so we've provided that help. But I mean, Bart, you think about this, the Town Creek area, you would have people who will come and get breakfast. They'll hang around in that area. They would go to the liquor store that was on the corner, hang around the Cannonsburg area, eat lunch, hang around till dinner, and then leave. So we have to find a better way to be able to provide those services.
Do you think that developing things in the spaces that are being used by the homeless now, for example, where we are sitting now, there's a development that's proposed,
right?
But it's been talked about, it seems like 8 or 10 years.
Yeah.
When are we going to start? It looks like if you have a lot of activity, people moving around, businesses, apartments, residential areas, you're not going to have so much homeless population.
Yeah, I think it's a chicken or the egg. I mean, activity breeds activity. But at the same time, we did the bottom study, and with what's happened down on Castle Street and some of those areas, people don't want to invest in that area because they're not, I mean...
They want to show me first
exactly
that you've done something.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I'm still a proponent of divesting the library system into the corners of our community where people live, as opposed to having a downtown branch. I think it makes sense, all the sense in the world, to have, like, for example, the Rite Aids that have all gone out of business. Those are about 10,000 square feet. Wouldn't it make much more sense to have a library system that is in the communities? And when I say the communities, in a library on the south side of town, a library that's on the west side of town. Wouldn't it make sense to have smaller libraries, but that are community driven in the areas of Murfreesboro where you can go to those, as opposed to always having to come to downtown Murfreesboro? So I think those are things that we need to be discussing. That, does it make sense to have a 50 or 60,000 square foot library in downtown Murfreesboro, when it makes much more sense, in my opinion, to have those spread out in the community where people can actually go and use those? Like what's happened with the CTC that we built at Hobgood. Very small, 8,000 square feet facility, but it's in the community. And that seems like that makes more sense, that you can also have more of like a community center feel in those libraries. And I think that's something that we are going to have to talk about, that doing things the way that we've always done them don't necessarily make sense.
Here's a question in from a listener. They are concerned with the fatal crashes that we keep seeing at intersections, and they were originally opposed, they said, to the traffic red light cameras at the traffic intersections, but maybe on second thought, that was doing some good that we didn't realize. How big of a problem is this? It's quite a few intersections.
I think red light running is a significant problem in Murfreesboro. I mean, whenever you're...
More than other cities?
I don't know other cities.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you talk to... That's the one thing, like, our number one complaint that we have in our community is traffic, right? But I also say this: name a growing community. Name a growing community in Rutherford County that doesn't have traffic.
You can't have a growing community without traffic.
Name a growing community in Tennessee that does not have traffic. There's not one. I was in Franklin yesterday. Traffic.
Knoxville.
Yeah.
Oh gosh,
yeah.
That pull your hair out. Traffic.
I think activity and growth, and even I don't even want to say growth, Bart. I mean, like, look at what we have in our community for healthcare services, for shopping, restaurants, athletic facilities. I mean, those when things like that come, people want to come to them. So traffic comes with it. But I do think when you have, as a Murfreesboro resident, when a light turns green and you have to wait a second or two to look to make sure nobody's running that red light, that's a problem. And we're 100% staffed in our police department now. The city council back in July of last year did a significant increase. I mean, you saw a post on my Mayor McFarland Facebook page on where we're hiring police officers. I think the starting pay is like $65,000 or $67,000 a year for a starting officer. So that allows us to be more proactive. Chief Bowen, we reading emails the other day and through discussions that they have ramped up their traffic enforcement. So there are things that we're continually working on. One of the complaints I get continually is about the loud cars on the roads now. And we've talked about this, that there was a negative to have to do emissions testing and have to go get your car checked yearly. I mean, that was a pain. But the negative that came along with doing away with that emissions testing is now you've seen people don't have to have their mufflers checked. And so, I have one gentleman on Broad Street that pings me almost on a weekly basis that he lives in a subdivision that backs up to Stones River, that backs up to Broad Street, and he's like, hey, the drag strip on Broad Street's going again tonight. So, I mean, I think that the person who texted about red light cameras and all those things, I think that's something that we consistently are dealing with, and I trust our police department and our emergency service professionals that they can continue to come up with ways to address that.
And I guess really, as you mentioned, that was brought on as a way to reduce T-bone accidents, but those accidents were created by people running red lights.
That's correct. And I think you could argue both ways on the red light cameras. I'm a huge proponent of our LPR system that we have right now, our license plate reader system. It has just in the last couple of years, the number of dangerous criminals that we've been able to get off the street by being able to catch them through that process is unreal. I mean, we just had the drive-by shooting that took place on Bradyville Pike. I mean, you saw a release yesterday where they arrested another individual, and that was all through being able to track through that LPR system.
It works.
It works. And look, I get there's concerns about Big Brother. That's not what the city of Murfreesboro is not tracking Shane McFarland driving through the streets of Murfreesboro. But what we are tracking is when a shot goes off, it's able to triangulate where that shot is, and you're able to then find the person who did that. We've dealt with people who know that we have that system, and they're changing their license tags. So, that's another discussion, Bart, that whenever I get these reports, I will always ask, hey, these people that we just arrested, where are they from? And there's a lot of times that these people are not from Murfreesboro. It's from other communities that are not as proactive in their policing as we are. Rutherford County is really good in our proactive policing. There's some other neighborhoods and communities that are not.
Looks like they would soon get the message, if you come to Murfreesboro, you will be caught.
Yeah, we had a thing that the county, this was several months ago, but where these groups were coming off the interstate and they were robbing cars, and while they were robbing cars at night, they were holding assault weapons.
Ooh,
and so our team, they were able to track those people and caught them. They were in Davidson County. And so what I tell people, as opposed to who were adamantly opposed to the red light cameras, and there was an argument to that about, you couldn't tell, all you could track was the license tag who ran the red light, not who was in the car. That's not what we're doing with the LPR system.
Here's another question from a listener who sent this text in. They're saying that since the people are running the red lights, why not take all of these police, since we have so many now, we have a full force, put together a group of 4 or 5, move them from the troubled intersections to, move them around the city to troubled intersections, and let them in wholesale numbers give out large numbers of tickets, and then the next day move them somewhere else. Pretty soon, after $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 of tickets, people might get the message it costs money to run red lights.
I think you're going to start seeing some of that.
So there you go.
I think one of the things that the city council, we're not involved in day-to-day policing, but our police department and our leadership hear the remarks that the council makes, and I think traffic enforcement is a significant concern in Murfreesboro right now.
We're going to pause for just a moment. We'll be right back. If you have a question for the mayor, text it to us, 615-893-1450. 615-893-1450.
Holden Hardware now has an e-commerce. Go to doitbest.com/Holden-hardware and shop all the items in our warehouse. You can have them shipped directly to you, or most items can be shipped for free to Holden Hardware for pickup. Shop with us in person or go online to doitbest.com/Holden-hardware.
One more time.
doitbest.com/Holden-hardware.
Alan Butcher.
Well, the thing I like about Adams Place is that when you come here, you're coming to a complete healthcare system. You start off in independent living, and then if you need additional care, you go to assisted living. And we also have a memory unit and a rehab unit.
Hi, this is Terry Deal at Adams Place. Call me for more information about Adams Place. Phone 615-904-9111.
Adams Place on Memorial, across from Walmart.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios, MTE Sharing Change has now donated more than $11 million to local nonprofits assisting worthy causes in our community. MTE, serving to make life better since 1936.
When the unexpected happens, fire, water, or storm damage, Farrah Construction can help. Farrah Construction is also there to help when a car slams through the wall, and that seems to happen more often these days. I'm Ron Hall. Let our family at Farrah Construction help you. Call Farrah Construction and we'll board up, put down tarps, secure your home or business until the insurance coverage is approved. I'm Ron Hall. Shop local. Let our family business help you. Farrah Construction Company.
I happened to glance up, and the clear sky was gone.
Coast to coast, all night, every night.
All I could see was something round and black.
On WGNS, AM, FM, online.
Welcome back. Hey, happy birthday to C.B. Carruthers, the winner of the delicious banana pudding from Slick Pig Barbecue. C.B. Carruthers, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Slick Pig, too. Yesterday, they turned 30. 30th anniversary over there at Slick Pig. Hey, congratulations, guys. We love what you do at Slick Pig. Our good neighbor of the day, receiving flowers from Jenny Harrison and the staff at Lion Flowers Coffee and Gifts, is Chloe Burns. Chloe Burns, for having a smile on her face every time you see her. It sort of makes a sunny day bright. Murfreesboro Mayor Shane McFarland is with us this morning. We have another question. This one's dealing also with the police. We're sort of focusing, it seems, in that direction. They're asking, why don't we have police precincts? We talked about that at one time, but never did do it. And that would put the police in different parts of the community when you need them.
Well, one, they're already, I would say there's a good argument to do that. But I don't want the caller, or I say caller now, the texter, Bart, to think that the police aren't in their community, because the way our policing is set up, they're broken out in zones, so they're in those communities. Now, I want to go back. So when we built the police precinct, that was a $50 million or $40 million facility. And quite honestly, I think at the time that we were talking about precincts, we built that facility and we really didn't want to spend or couldn't spend the money to go build another $20 million facility in a community. I think what you're going to see, Bart, is we're already having those discussions about, for example, like the south side of town, the veterans area, where there is going to be the opportunity where facilities that we build, for example, like a fire station, where you can co-locate some of those things, where you may have, like some of our fire stations right now do have an office where police will come in and out of. So I do think that there's the ability to be able to do that smarter. But the thing when you talk about bringing on another precinct, for example, like Nashville does, there's an expense that comes with that. You've got to have someone who mans that station. You've got the capital expenditures of building. And I think what the city has made the decision over the last 10 years that we want to invest our money in our personnel, hiring and making sure that our public safety providers are paid appropriately, but also in their equipment. Take home cars, all those things. And so I think although the precinct is not a bad idea, it's more of a want than it is a need, and we've just decided that we have all these other things that we've been prioritizing our funds to.
Here's a listener who says, I'm having a hard time parking sometimes in the downtown area. I sure wish you would open up that parking lot again at the old Methodist Church location.
There's more to come about that, Bart.
So that is a possibility.
100%. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're still going through the process on that right now. So, but I think what I would say to the residents, that help is on the way in regards to that.
How soon do you think?
I don't know on a time yet, but we've had a lot of conversations with county leadership that I think there's the judicial building needs new parking. I mean, we met with the judges and they shared several of those things.
So the parking lot, the multi-level one that they have, is full already.
Yeah, it stays full. So especially when you have jury duty and Judge Turner, who we met with, they don't have parking for jury duty. Melissa Harrell, the court clerk, said the same thing. So there is a significant need for that downtown, and we're still pursuing that.
Can you make those parking garages taller, or is the limit already there?
No, I mean I think that parking garage on the county parking garage, I think it was designed where it could go up another floor, but the number that we've gotten back for every parking spot, it's about $40,000 per parking spot. So if you were to do 200 parking spots, you're looking at an $8 million lift. Ooh, wow. So, the county did that one a little different, where they used a governmental bond to finance that. So you really can't charge. But I think what we're going to have to do is, parking shouldn't cost the taxpayer money. So, like, for example, that parking garage, I don't know what the yearly debt is on it, but the taxpayer's paying for that. I think what we're going to look at is a model to where if you're serving the county, then of course your parking is paid for. But if you're coming to park downtown, it should be expected that you may have to pay a couple of dollars to park for the day downtown. And that helps maintain and pay for all the things that come along with having a parking lot.
And here's a question we haven't addressed. This person's asking, when will the bus transfer station and hub be ready for opening, the one on New Salem Highway?
It is almost ready. I would expect this month that you will see the transit center opening up.
Very good. What will that enable you to do?
Well, I think it enables a couple things, Bart. One, the stop that's downtown right now goes away. The stop on the corner of Burton Street and Walnut Street is, I mean, I see it every day. It's not set up to be able to have the amount of traffic that comes through on that corner. So I think that is the one stop. The other thing too, the WeGo buses that are coming from Nashville that leave Murfreesboro and come to Murfreesboro, I mean, right now they're going and dropping off in downtown Murfreesboro. And downtown Murfreesboro was not set up for a 60-foot bus to be driving, through Murfreesboro, downtown Murfreesboro. So, I mean, those are some of the immediate benefits, that it gets all of that activity on a 5-lane road that can handle that type of activity. Okay,
so those are things that will be happening this month. We have about a minute left in our broadcast. Give us an update on the tower at the airport, the control tower.
Yeah, we just got news back last week that the site location had been approved through the federal government. So now it took longer than it should have. I mean, we're thankful that the federal government approved that, but it was a long process. So they now are going through all the process to be able to do the environmental part, to be able to get that happening. And, I think what that's going to do for the resident, one, it's the majority of it is funded through the federal government. Our cost is about $70,000 a year. At least that's what it was a couple of years ago. But that's going to be able to control the airspace in Murfreesboro. And what that does, that allows definitely a safer environment for Murfreesboro, but it also allows a more orderly environment of who comes in and out of our airspace.
Murfreesboro Mayor
Thank you,
Shane
Bart.
McFarland, our guest
I won't
this
be
morning.
late next month.
Thank you. Have a great day. Mayor Shane McFarland with us as we focused on the city of Murfreesboro. Much more to come. Chipper is with us next, right here on your Good Neighbor station.